All right, so get this. We're diving deep into Wicked the movie versus the stage show. And, you guys wanted to know how they compare.
Yeah.
You even brought in this Collider article that lists out 10 things that the film arguably does better. Like it's saying even the article's author thinks that maybe
Yeah.
the film tops the stage production in certain areas. And there are some really interesting points in here,
Yeah.
like how they use CGI for the animals and this completely silent ballroom scene
Wow.
that's supposed to be amazing
Yeah.
and get this cameos from the original Elphaba and Glinda.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm really excited to unpack all of this with you. So welcome.
It's fascinating how this article kind of breaks down what each medium does best.
Right.
Like you said, theater has to be big and broad and dramatic.
Yeah.
And film can get right in there and be intimate.
Yeah.
So it's less about, one being better than the other and more about just appreciating how each one does its own thing.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a good point to emphasize, too. Like, we're not here to say which one is better.
Right.
Or to, hit them against each other. It's really just to explore what each one does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cast their own unique spell.
I love that. Yeah. So the article, I think we should just jump right into it.
Okay.
They start out by talking about the animals and how, in the stage production, it's actors in costumes, and then in the film they use TGI.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that on stage, the costumes have a certain charm and it works within that theatrical context.
Right.
But the film, being able to use CGI animals, brings in a whole new level of visual realism.
Right.
Especially when you think about the ethical questions the story is raising about how animals are treated in Oz.
Right.
Yeah,
it definitely adds a different element to it. Like if you see a realistic looking goat professor versus someone wearing a goat costume, it kind of hits differently.
Exactly. And it's not just that they swap costumes for CGI, but they actually added scenes that weren't in the stage version. Like we get to see Dr. Dillman meeting with other animal professors, and it really emphasizes, how messed up their situation is in Oz.
Right, yeah. So they're using that visual choice to really drive home a point.
Exactly.
So they're playing with the visuals a little bit, but what about the emotional stuff? Because, the heart of Wicked is Elphaba and Glinda's relationship.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Does the film handle that differently as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They really let that friendship breathe on screen.
Okay.
The Oz Dust ballroom scene is like a fan favorite on stage.
Right.
But in the film, it's practically twice as long, and there's not a single word spoken.
Wait, what? The best scene in the film is no dialogue?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
I'm intrigued, but also confused. How does that even work?
Well, that's the beauty of film.
Right.
You've got the close-ups. You can see every flicker of emotion on their faces.
Yeah.
So, when Glinda reaches out her hand, and Elphaba's initially hesitant.
Yeah.
And then she slowly turns toward Glinda, and their fingers touch.
Yeah.
You're conveying all of that connection in a way that words just can't capture.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you're right. When you watch it on stage, you see that moment, and it's obviously a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing...
You don't get the close-up.
Those subtle
Yeah.
things. Yeah. Okay. I'm already picturing it, and it is way more powerful than I imagined.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're going deeper with the emotion. They're obviously using the visuals a lot more. But the article also mentioned something about Elphaba's backstory.
Right.
And how they expanded that. What's the deal with that?
Well, they give us a glimpse of Elphaba as a child and how she was treated differently because of her green skin.
Right.
And we see her connect with animals from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
She even raises a baby polar bear cub named Dulcibert.
Wait, Dulcibert.
Yeah.
Okay, that's adorable.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah, but it's like those early experiences really inform her later actions. There's a history there, yeah.
It gives the audience those aha moments that make you connect with the character on a deeper level.
Yeah, okay, I like that. So they're playing with visuals, they're playing with emotions, they're adding backstories. What about the music?
Well,
Steven Schwartz's score is so iconic. Did they mess with perfection?
Well, they did bring in film composer John Powell.
Okay.
But it's not like replacing Schwartz's work. It's more like he's having a conversation with the original score.
Okay.
He weaves in these subtle nods to For Good and other themes. And it kind of just adds this other dimension to the emotional landscape.
Yeah.
Especially during those quiet moments between songs.
It's like he's amplifying the feels even more.
Exactly.
But what about all those little nods to the original Wizard of Oz that everyone loves?
So they were in there.
Did they make it into the film?
Yeah. From the title screen using the same font as the original film to Glinda playfully tapping ruby slippers together.
Oh my God. gosh.
There's all sorts of little Easter eggs for fans to discover.
I love that.
And it wasn't just the visuals. They even wove the Ding Dong the Witch is Dead melody into the score.
Ugh. Okay, that's just brilliant. I love that. They're like paying homage to the classic while creating something new.
Yeah.
But speaking of new, the article also mentioned that the costumes in the film are way more extravagant.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how much more are we talking?
Well, think about it, on stage, costume changes have to be quick and practical.
Right.
But in film, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
The article even points out the "What is this feeling" sequence, where Elphaba and Glinda go through multiple costume changes within a single song.
Multiple costume changes in one song.
One song, yeah.
Okay, talk about a visual feast.
It's pretty amazing.
But, I mean, it can't just be about looking pretty. They have to serve a purpose, right?
Absolutely. Costumes are all about visual storytelling. They reveal character. They reveal social status. They even reveal emotional state.
Yeah.
So having this expanded wardrobe for the film allows for a much richer and more nuanced tapestry.
Right, and a better understanding of the characters, I would assume.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm getting serious FOMO over here, not having seen this movie yet. So we've got CGI, we've got emotional depth, we've got expanded backstories, musical layers, killer costumes. But the article also mentions something about the acting being different on screen versus stage. How so?
Well, it comes down to that intimacy that film allows.
Right. Yeah.
On stage, actors have to project to the back row.
Yeah.
But on camera, subtlety is key.
Right.
You see every tiny shift in expression, every flicker of doubt in Elphaba's eyes.
It's like we're getting a window into their souls, especially in those close-ups. Like when Elphaba is front and center as she's soaring through the air during defying gravity, like that must be breathtaking.
Absolutely. It's about creating that sense of raw emotion, of being right there with the character, experiencing their journey in this incredibly intimate way.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like we've laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
But I'm dying to hear like your take on how all of this comes together to create a cohesive experience. What stands out to you most about the differences between Wicked on stage versus screen?
You know what strikes me the most is how each version really leans into its strengths.
Okay.
You know, the stage production delivers that larger-than-life spectacle.
Right.
But the film really delves into those intimate moments. Neither one is better. They're just different expressions of the same incredible story.
And that's what makes this whole discussion so fascinating.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about how the film is using visuals and music and even costumes to like tell the story in a unique way. But the article also mentioned something about expanded lore, especially around the Grimmery and the Wizard.
Right.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, the film really takes us further down, especially during the one short day sequence.
Okay.
It becomes like this treasure trove of information about Oz that we just didn't get on stage.
Okay, ooh, is this where those cameos from Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth come in?
Yes.
You know, the original Elphaba and Glinda?
Yes.
I read about that and my jaw dropped.
It's pretty amazing.
So they're in it.
They are in it.
What do they do?
So they pop up as these wise women of Oz.
Okay.
And they don't just, make a cameo appearance. They actually sing a whole new part of One Short Day.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. They added a whole new section to One Short Day?
They did.
Like Stephen Schwartz wrote new music for this film.
He did.
I mean, wasn't that song already perfect?
Well, it speaks to his commitment to the project.
Yeah.
He understood that adapting for film isn't just about transferring, the stage production to the screen. It's about evolution.
That's a good point. Yeah, and the film has more freedom to explore these details.
Right.
That you're not limited by a stage, you know what I mean? So this new part of the song, is it like better or just different?
I think, think of it as adding a new layer of depth.
Okay.
The article points out how, all of this extra lore, particularly about the Grimmery, it really raises the stakes.
Okay.
We get a sense of just how powerful this book is.
Right.
Which makes Elphaba's ability to read it even more impactful.
Yeah, it's like they've opened up this whole new chapter in the Wicked saga.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're diving deeper into the story, they're expanding the lore, they're adding new music. What about the heart of it all? Elphaba and Glinda's relationship, did they change anything there?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the film really fleshes out their friendship.
Okay.
Giving it more space to really grow and evolve.
That makes sense. Their bond is like the backbone of the entire story. So giving it the spotlight is crucial. How did they achieve that?
Well, for one thing, they just give them more time together.
Okay.
The film is longer than the stage production.
Right.
And a good chunk of that extra time is dedicated to Glinda and Elphaba interacting.
So we get to see more of their dynamic, like the good, the bad, the hilarious, and the heartwarming.
Exactly. And these aren't just like random extra scenes.
Yeah. Right.
They're carefully crafted to reveal new sides of their personalities.
Right.
And deepen their bond.
It's like we're getting to know them on a whole other level.
Exactly.
That's what makes a good adaptation. Not just recreating, but reimagining.
Precisely. And the film does a brilliant job of balancing familiarity.
Yeah.
With these fresh insights.
Yeah.
We recognize Glinda and Elphaba.
Right.
But we're also seeing them in a new light, thanks to the nuances that film allows.
Speaking of nuances, the article highlighted the Oz Dust Ballroom scene as a prime example.
Yes.
Longer, no dialogue yet, considered one of the most powerful scenes in the film. How is that even possible?
It's the magic of visual storytelling.
Okay.
We witness Glinda's compassion as she reaches out to Elphaba, who is being, mocked and ostracized.
Right.
And we see Elphaba's initial resistance.
Yeah.
Followed by this gradual softening as she realizes Glinda's sincerity.
Right.
And all without a single word being spoken.
That's incredible. Like, just those small gestures, those looks, you can convey so much without dialogue.
Exactly. It shows how powerful nonverbal communication can be, especially when you have the camera right there capturing every detail.
Okay, now I'm really curious to see this scene.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what other scenes they might have reimagined for the film.
I know it really highlights how adaptation is an art form.
Right.
The filmmakers took the essence of Wicked and infused it with these cinematic techniques to create a truly fresh experience.
Okay, so they reimagined scenes. What about those CGI animals we talked about earlier on stage? It's actors in costumes, which has its own charm.
Right.
But the film opted for realism.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Okay.
On stage, stylized costumes can effectively convey the character's essence.
Right.
But film allows for a level of realism that can be quite captivating.
Yeah.
Especially for animal characters.
And the article mentioned that realism makes it easier to suspend disbelief.
Exactly.
Which is important when you're dealing with talking animals and magic.
Right. You're not sitting there, questioning the authenticity of the creatures.
Yeah. You're just going with it.
You just believe it. Yeah.
But there's also a downside to that, right? Some people might miss that theatrical charm of seeing actors in those elaborate costumes.
Right. And I think that's a valid point.
Yeah.
It really comes down to personal preference. Some might love the stage production's whimsy, while others might appreciate the film's visual fidelity.
Yeah.
I think what matters is what resonates with you as a viewer.
That is a great reminder that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to adaptation.
Exactly. It's all about making choices that enhance the story.
Yeah.
And the overall experience. We've covered a lot of ground, but this Collider article it keeps on giving.
Yeah.
One point that really stuck with me is how the film captures a different kind of acting compared to the stage.
Right.
On stage, actors have to project their emotions so that, everyone in the back row can see.
Yeah. It's all about, the power of the close-up, right?
But in film, it's all about subtlety.
Yeah.
You can see the slightest change in expression, the way Elphaba's eyes flicker with doubt, or Glinda's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly.
So it's less about those, big dramatic gestures and more about those tiny, intimate moments that the camera can pick up.
Exactly. It makes you feel like you're right there with the characters, experiencing those emotions firsthand.
Like when Elphaba is soaring through the air during Defying Gravity on stage, that's pure spectacle.
It is.
But in the film, with that close-up on her face,
right,
it's so much more personal and powerful.
Absolutely. It really drives it home.
You're totally making me want to rewatch that scene with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And speaking of fresh, the article also mentioned how the film delves into Elphaba and Nessaros's backstory a little bit more, showing us glimpses of their childhood and their complicated relationship with their father.
Right. Those added scenes really provide crucial context for Elphaba's choices later on.
Okay.
You see how her green skin made her an outcast, how she always felt different. And we see how that shaped her empathy for the marginalized and the misunderstood.
So it's like those added scenes unlock a whole new level of understanding.
Right.
For her character. It's not just that she's wicked, there's a whole history
exactly
of hurt and injustice that's shaped who she is.
Right. It really adds depth and complexity to a character we already thought we knew.
Right. And it's not just about adding scenes, they also enhance existing scenes.
Right.
In the mood, how is that even possible?
Well, it's the brilliance of visual storytelling. It's really amazing.
It really highlights how much can be communicated without saying a single word, especially when the camera is capturing every nuance.
Exactly. Film has this incredible ability to capture those unspoken moments, those subtle connections that really form the heart of any great story.
So it seems like both the stage production and the film bring something unique to the table.
They do.
It's not about which one is better, but appreciating how each version tells this beloved story in its own compelling way.
Exactly, and that's what makes this comparison so fascinating.
Yeah.
It reminds us that there are multiple ways to experience art, and each medium offers its own distinct pleasures and insights.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our Wicked Deep Dive. We've covered so much today, from the challenges of adaptation to the power of visual storytelling. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought. If you were in the director's chair, what element of Wicked would you be itching to bring to the screen in a whole new way? What unique perspective could you bring to this timeless story? Think about it and maybe even share your ideas with us. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.